Welcome to the Open to Hope Show. I'm your host, Dr. Gloria Horsley, with my daughter and co-host,
Dr. Heidi Horsley.
Well, Heidi, we have got a great show today on spouse loss and some fabulous people who are doing some really interesting things.
Yeah, we do, Mom. We're going to talk today to Dawn Jiosi and Caryl Fried Feldmann and her daughter, Sara Feldmann Sheehan. And we know Sara because she has been on our show before. And she's also the executive director and a documentary filmmaker of the film Mortal.
Oh, fantastic.
So,
well, before we get started with them, I want to mention to you Soaring Spirits Foundation, because our friend Michelle Neff Hernandez is sponsoring this show with us, and she, if you go to Soaring Spirits Foundation, you can learn more about her, and it's a great organization, isn't it, Heidi?
It is, and we went to one of her events in, where was it, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. And it is an event for widows and widowers, and it's really incredible because you do see, you know, they're talking about the person that's died and their spouse that's died, but they're also so full of hope there.
Right, and so these women today are going to make you feel full of hope too if you've had a loss and you see what they've gone on to do. So why don't we start with Dawn, Heidi?
Okay, let me tell you a little bit about Dawn before we do. Dawn is the creator of A New Dawn. And this was inspired by the shattering life events of her husband's death 8 years ago. And at the time, she had 2 young children who are now teenagers. After we interviewed Dawn, we're going to bring on Caryl Fried Feldmann and her daughter, Sara, like I said. Sara is the executive director of a film, Mortal. And this film was inspired by the death of her father, Skip. And we're also going to talk to Caryl because Caryl was in this film, Mortal, talking about, you know, her husband being terminally ill and eventually dying, and she is just such a positive, amazing woman. So we'll talk about what her journey's been like.
Absolutely. Well, fabulous. And we're going to see clips from The New Dawn and from the film Mortal. So welcome to the show, Dawn.
Hi, Dawn.
Thank you very much.
Hello. Hello. It's so wonderful to have you on, and we appreciate it so much.
And I've got to tell you, I love your name, because your name is so positive and optimistic, and you know, it's always darkest before the dawn.
Yes, yes, thank you very much. At first, when we were thinking about a name for the company, it wasn't my suggestion because it felt a little bit strange because it was my name, but I thought everyone loved it so much, and we feel very positive about it. So
we're going to show a clip of The New Dawn in just a minute, but before we get to that clip, give us a little backstory on how you got together with a bunch of women and a book came out of it and all sorts of things.
This first started the idea. I was invited to be a part of a book by Becky Aikman. The title is Saturday Night Widows, the story of 6 friends recreating their lives. And Becky had lost her husband, and she was still young at the time, and she had gone to traditional bereavement groups, and she said, there has to be a better way. So let me see what we can do. And we all came together. We met once a month and had fun. And we had a loss in common, but we both wanted to, and all of us, the common denominator was, let's recreate our lives, let's make it better and get through this loss. So the community really helped.
Absolutely. Well, let's see the clip. I want to show the clip of your New Dawn organization, and I know you were telling us that you have lots of dreams and ideas and hopes for this to bring community together.
Yes.
And it's a wonderful clip, so why don't we show that?
Hello everyone and welcome. My name is Dawn Jiosi and I'm the founder of A New Dawn. I created New Dawn to serve as a community dedicated to helping people heal from life-shattering events. This is a cause very close to my heart, as 8 years ago I experienced my own life-shattering event, the sudden death of my husband. I know what it's like to feel your world is falling apart, and I know what it's like to try and dig yourself out of the deep, dark place that grief can put you in. Thankfully, these last 8 years have taught me that the human spirit is truly resilient, and that while grief knocks you down, you can always get back up. The most important thing I've learned along my journey, and the concept that serves as the backbone of A New Dawn, is that no one can or should be left alone in grief and isolation. In order to heal, you need to be surrounded by like-minded and positive people, people that understand this journey, people that will hold your hand and be there for you during this very vulnerable time and support you through your transition to a new beginning and look forward to a new dawn. So if you or anyone you know has lost a loved one, I urge you to join our community. I promise that A New Dawn will be your safe haven filled with positivity, compassion, and anything else you may need along your journey. Together we will share, we will heal, and we will love.
Wow, Dawn, that's beautiful. I'm thinking now, it's been how many years?
8.
Yeah, I'm thinking when I'm watching this, I'm thinking, wow, look where she is after 8 years, but I'm not there. Where were you that first year?
The first year, barely breathing and just surviving, you know, doing everything. You feel like a robot. You just do everything you need to do for your children to get through the loss, and just take one day at a time.
So your advice would be one day at a time. How about that second year? You know, people are expecting me to get over it, right, Heidi?
Absolutely.
You do. You have that, and I think by that time what was really wonderful is that I did meet this other group of ladies who had all been through the same experience.
What does the group do for people?
It makes you not feel isolated. It makes you feel like there's other people that this has happened to, and that together you're not alone.
And it's tough for young widows, isn't it? I hear that at Soaring Spirits when we present there, that it's really tough because they feel like this hasn't happened to anybody else. And then you've got dating, and you've got, you know, maybe not the second year, but there are all sorts of things going on.
Yeah, because you're thrown into a whole world that you never thought, you know, you would be. You thought, oh, I've dated, I've done this, I'm married, and this is it, I'm finished. And then to go back after having children and being married all that time, it's the experience can be very scary. You can feel very alone, like it's not happened to anybody else. And yet when you have these groups and you have other people, you're not alone anymore, and you get to tell stories, and you could actually even laugh.
I was going to say, I've been impressed with the, do you like to be called a widow? I mean, it's tough.
When we first got that project together, the first thing we said, can we just change the name widow? Because it comes with such a negative connotation.
Well, and when you think of widow, you think of 90-year-old women and men.
Whose life is over.
You feel like, oh, it's a much older group, and I worked with 9/11 widows for 10 years, and they were young, like you, and that's what they said. They said, you know, we don't identify with most widows because they're a lot older than us.
Yes, and I think that is definitely true, and once you give yourself permission to say, well, I'm living, and here I am, and I want to move forward with my life, and then you have other people who start to feel the same way, and then all of a sudden you're doing it together. And having actually a lot of fun. You can. We had a lot of fun.
What about internet dating? Did you try any of that?
I did not until just recently, and that was through the coaxing of a friend of mine.
Yeah.
And so I think, you know, you put yourself out there, and whatever feels good to you, and just have some fun. And then that energy builds. And
Okay, so I'm watching this and I'm thinking, haha, her friend told her to do internet dating. How do I approach my friend to get her to date again? Or a guy, how do I approach him?
Yeah, I think what you say is, what do you have to lose? You know, go out and have some fun. You can write your own script, right? If you try it, if you don't like it, don't do it again. But why not? Because
well, and that's what's good about what you're doing, because you can go to the other widows and talk to them, the other people that have gone through this, and saying, okay, is this normal? And is it okay to have fun? And you guys can do internet stuff together. I mean, you can do a lot of this and get support.
Yes.
You're not on your own doing it or alone.
Yeah, and that's the one thing about being a widow, and that word, is that it doesn't come with fun and living your life and everything, but we're here. We have to do that, you know, for yourself, for your children.
And I read something online, and you were in it, and it was something about, okay, you know what? Somebody said, I realized it's okay to be in love with 2 men at the same time. My spouse that died, and my new relationship. And I thought that was really cool to say that and put it out there, and I never really thought of that.
Yes,
before.
because that's one of the things that you go through. Okay, here I am getting out there and I am dating, and then it's like, oh, is this right to do?
Yeah.
Does this mean I don't love my husband? You know, people would question that too. Oh, you know, if it's too soon, well, you never loved your husband.
Right.
You know, if you're not doing anything, oh, she's not getting on with her life. So there's all these judgments, and none of that's true. You know, we're all here. This is for the living. So let's live our lives, and move forward positively. And then when you do that, you can empower other people to do it.
How about the kids?
The kids. Well,
when do you introduce somebody to them?
That's a judgment call. When they were younger, I think it was a bit easier, but now that they're teenagers, you know, it's very different. And I think you'll know the right time. And everybody has, you know, I guess you have to make your own call on that and see how. First, get someone of quality in your life that you feel that that will be good for you and your children, and I think they'll follow suit. And how about your husband's parents and family? How do you keep that going, and what happens with that? And well,
you know,
my husband's family lives overseas. They're from South Africa, but we get to see them once a year. Either we will take a trip there or they'll come here, and I think that connection is very important for my children. I've tried to maintain it, and so have they, so we've been very fortunate, because that's really the only ties that they have to their father.
Well, and they can also tell your kids stories about their dad when he was growing up.
Exactly, exactly. Yes.
yeah. Well, what's your hope, and what would be one piece of advice you'd have for the people that are watching the show, and how can they get in touch with you?
Well, they can get in touch with us through our website, A New Dawn. And I think the one thing I could say is do not isolate. Get out there, join a community of people that will help and support you, and it is okay to enjoy yourself and live your life again.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you very much.
Really appreciate it, and congratulations on all the work you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, and that was great advice to all those out there that don't know how they're going to survive right now.
Right.
Thank you.
Well, Heidi, we are going to be seeing the clip Mortal in just a minute, and can you talk a little bit about it, because we're going to have the people in, and we're going to show the clip right now, but do a little intro to the clip.
Sure. Let me see, an intro to the clip. Well, I saw the premiere in New York City.
And it was a full movie.
It was a full movie. It's fabulous. It's all about, I hope I can do it justice, it's all about living your best life, and there's a lot of themes of loss in it. And it just kind of says, you know, we don't know how long we have on this earth, and you and I, everyone here knows that. You know, life doesn't go on forever, and while we're here, we need to live our best life. We need to live our life not only for, I live my life not only for myself, but for my brother. And there were all these really inspiring stories of people that have gone through great adversity and not only survived, but had thrived.
And yeah, and one of the important things about it is it's done by, produced by Sara Sheehan, which her mom's going to be on the show right after this clip on Mortal. Yeah, so keep watching.
As a child, we don't know about birth and death. We're discovering the world for the first time. That keeps your curiosity moving. Curiosity is a major quality in investigating life and death.
What equates to a successful life is one where you've paid attention, and that is a worthwhile life, regardless of the ups and the downs.
It's called living fearlessly. It's like really looking at how to live without fear and accepting that we have fear.
We can experience all of life, all the beauty, the splendor, the magic, deep love, and absolute deep pain. It all goes together. If you drink from the whole cup of life, it makes the whole thing all right.
What our faith tells us is that life is ultimately good, creation is good, and we're gonna be okay.
It's okay to be afraid, but make a step to learn more, educate yourself. We're in it together.
Like anybody else, I'm gonna die, but I think I got something to say about it, like how and when.
One of the greatest gifts as human beings we have is the ability to pause after an event and choose our response. And we decide how we're gonna feel about it, and we decide how we're gonna think about it, and we decide what we're gonna do afterwards.
It's not a question of getting into the pearly gates, it's what will happen to the people I love? Who will take care of those people? And how will my love live on? People die, love doesn't die.
If they knew that, they would live in a much more conscious way and practice generosity and morality and tolerance. They would trust in the universe more.
In a way, when we go to the other side, it's going to have to be anything but bliss.
The truth is that we hope that this little guy will be this old man. We don't know his story, we don't know our story, right? It will all unfold.
It's being mortal, and Being mortal, I think, is a beautiful thing.
Well, welcome to the show. I'm so happy to have you here. And happy to have you here, Sara and Caryl. And you have produced this film. Your dad died, Skip. Your husband, Skip.
That's right.
Yeah, and that was how long ago?
That was about a year and a half ago.
Wow, it has not been that long for you. No, it's a very short time. And when did you start the film? My goodness. You must have started very shortly after.
Well, he was in the film. Skip
He was in the film. Yeah, we started the film when he started to decline, and Bobby, my husband, who's the director, just picked up his camera, and we really thought it was going to be a very intimate thing, that we were just going to record it for the family, and it turned into this thing, this sort of our examination on love and life and loss. And of course my mom was a big part of that and a huge inspiration, because she really, of her community and her friend group, she was kind of the first one going through it, and going through losing a husband and all of the decisions that needed to be made, and there was so much story in there that we decided to make a documentary.
Now, people have to realize that you make documentary films.
Yes.
So this isn't just your neighborhood person filming the family. But Caryl, it's amazing. How did you feel having them, knowing now how far it's gone? How has that been for you?
It was very difficult to see it. When I first saw it, I just...
you actually did see it, because sometimes I don't even watch my own show.
Oh, well, I saw it, and I was very uncomfortable, to be honest with you, because there I was out there.
Right.
And I didn't know whether I wanted anyone to see what we were going through, or see my husband like that in his decline, because he was such a very strong person. And
well, Caryl, I've got to say, even when he couldn't speak on the film, you could tell how strong he was.
What a nice thing to say.
He still came across as a very strong man. And I know at that point he was unable to speak.
He blinked.
Yes.
Yes, he blinked once for yes and two for no.
Wow.
Yeah, that was tough. That was tough.
So, go ahead.
I was just going to say, one thing I loved about You Immortal, and I've said this before to your daughter and your son-in-law, I was excited every time you came on.
What a nice thing to say.
I know that sounds strange, and my husband was too, because there's something about you that is so hopeful, and just your energy, and when you come onto the film, I'm like, oh good, she's back. Because I feel really inspired that, people are going to be able to get to a place of, where there is more positive and more hope, because she's telling us, you know what, I've walked this journey and it's hard, but I've got to live my best life for me and for my husband.
That's true. But what has happened is that so many of my friends are watching their husbands decline. So they are calling me, and I am supposed to be the strong one. And there are times where you really don't feel like being strong.
No, after a year and a half particularly, that's very early. And a lot of people tell us that the second year can even be tougher, because you kind of thaw out and say, this is going to be my life.
It's not a bad life.
Right.
It was a very nice life. And one of the interesting things that I did, which I don't do anymore, was I took out films that we had and I would watch them. And when he would be recording me doing things and his comments about me, it was very endearing. And very, I looked at it really, I think for the first time sometimes. And it was, I felt he was there.
I love that he did that. Filmed you doing things and made commentary.
Oh, and they were really funny comments about what I was doing.
Well, what are your, you were listening to the younger widow, and it's a whole different ballgame, isn't it?
It is a whole different ballgame, because she still has a very big life to live. And seeing my husband die because we had just been in Asia when he started that was a big trip.
Right,
and a very, very strenuous trip.
Yeah.
And to see him decline so rapidly made me wonder, I say to myself, hey, I may be next, and I don't want anybody taking care of me. And the way I had to take care of him. And he would never have wanted me to take care of him as I had to. But thank goodness I had my children, my son-in-laws, and my
other daughter and my grandchildren.
I
were
was going to say your
wonderful.
grandchildren. At
They
one
were
point, one of
wonderful.
them played the guitar
Oh,
and sang.
it was his guitar. See, he
Yeah, it
had
was
4
amazing.
guitars, and he gave one to Sarah and Bobby's daughter, and she would come and play for him. And the little one, the little boy, who's now 5'10", but he bought a plastic chess set, and he came and played chess with him in the afternoon on the way home. So that's very nice. As Dawn
That's
said,
wonderful.
it's when you have a support group, how wonderful that is, and I certainly can understand that, appreciate it.
Yeah.
Now, what about people getting together and talking? What's been your support system outside your family been?
Well, they want to complain to me.
Oh.
But that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And they say, is this all right? I'm so down in the dumps. One of my friends just called and said, I'm so down in the dumps. I'm just going back to bed. Is that all right? And I said, of course it's all right. Look what you've done all your life. Go back to bed. Read a good book. But they do call, and they just need affirmation.
Yeah, and
that
permission
they're going
to do
on.
these
And
things.
permission.
Do you know what this
I love that.
Do you know what this reminds me of a little bit? It reminds me of when my son was killed. I was a therapist, and people wanted therapy from me. I mean, you know, they wanted, after I got a little bit further on, then they wanted me to, you know, be therapy for them. And it's hard. It's hard being the strong one.
And that's the other thing. I have had to be the strong one. So that's okay.
Yeah.
So I came from a family like that.
I asked a very famous therapist who I taught at the University of Rochester, I said, how does a therapist grieve? And he said, long and endlessly like everyone else.
That's right.
Yeah.
There you go.
You know, and so maybe that's what they don't realize about you.
Right. And but they've been my friends have been wonderful. My
Yeah.
family has been.
Yeah,
I've been
yeah,
very fortunate.
So how did you get up in the morning? What were your challenges?
Oh, I had to get up in the morning, so I had no choice. So I had to get up and I had to get going, and I had a project that I had to do. It seems that we found out that my husband had a post-traumatic stress syndrome. So that's one of the things that precipitated his decline. So I was going to find out all of it, and of course I couldn't. The last thing I got was a redacted thing from the government, and I'll never find out what happened. But it was...
You mean he was in the...
yes, he was at our mission, and he was captured, and
Wow.
he escaped.
Wow.
Yeah, and we went back to where it all started, which we should not have done, I guess.
Oh, that was when you took
Korea. Right,
Yes.
it was in Korea. So then it all went downhill.
Oh, that was
so
the Korean
I'm left
War.
with that.
What did he eventually die of?
I don't know.
He just declined.
I think it was could have been the medicine. It could have been a lot of things.
That's a big issue with
It
the
is.
elderly. I mean, you know, you have to almost read died of natural causes unless somebody died of cancer.
It wasn't
You don't
cancer,
know.
no.
Sometimes people just
Just
yeah
died.
do decline. Yeah.
So it's,
yeah,
it was,
yeah. Well, are you ever kind of mad at him for leaving?
Oh,
you?
I sure am.
Well, you talk to him all the time.
Especially when things are broken in the house.
Yeah, I bet.
And I don't
Things
know what
that he
to
used
do.
to do. Yeah.
Yes, that's it was inconsiderate.
How dare he abandon you? I used to say that to my brother. Really? You're living with these grieving parents? Not fair.
My brother died too, and I was left with grieving parents, so I understand that.
So you had a brother that died.
Oh, awful.
He was very young.
How many years ago was that?
Well, that was a long time ago. That was
42 years ago.
Yeah, but he was young. He died of an aneurysm.
He was 37.
37, and his art show was opening.
Did you learn anything from your brother's death, maybe, that helped you with your husband's death? I don't know. Was there anything? Because you've been through it with this before.
I'll tell you something.
Yeah.
It really, what I knew that I had to be the strong one.
Yeah.
And my mother was she was very close with him, and that was what I learned, and I did.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because it's a continuum, because Sara and Bobby's daughter is now was working in the summer for his apprentice.
Wow.
Wow.
It was a beautiful full
That's
circle.
wonderful.
Yes.
That is full
Really.
circle. I love that.
Yes.
Yeah, there was a symmetry there that was
That's
just
For
lovely.
who, your brothers?
My brother's
And your brother
apprentice.
was an artist?
Oh, yes, and his show was opening the day
Okay.
he died.
And how old was he?
37.
With
and
young
he
children.
died the day.
Died,
Wow.
10 and 7-year-old, yeah.
And so now your daughter's working for his apprentice.
For his
That's
apprentice
amazing.
who
That's
has a
now an
gallery
adult.
and very
That's wonderful.
successful. Yeah, it's a beautiful story. I mean, that to me is one of those surprises that happen years and years later in
Right.
life and sort
Yeah.
of bring you back to a beautiful place.
Yeah. Have there been any other surprises for you? Have you had any kind of contact or anything with him? I remember my mother telling me that she felt like my dad was in bed with her, and one day he said, "You're on your own now, girl."
I love it. That's good.
Well, Daddy helps you find lost things.
Yes, he definitely does. But, you know, it's definitely over, but I have not given away the clothes or his things, and then I'll be able to accept. Once I'm able to really accept it,
And it's
I'll
been
be
a
able
year
to
and a
do it.
half. That's important for people
Yes.
to know, because
Yes.
some people are saying, "Let's get the closet cleaned
No,
out."
no, I can't
and,
do
you know,
that. I can't do
what-
that.
And why don't they do it? You know what I mean? There are some people that are like, "Why don't they do it? Let's move on." And
Then
you
he's
know.
really gone.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And once you give them away, you can't get them back.
I'm not going to get them back.
Right.
They're all perfectly new and in plastic and
you
everything
know,
else.
when I did work with the 9/11 widows, they would move their things gradually. So they would put them in, away, but not move them out for years and years and years, and that was okay.
Yeah, and thank you so much for being on this show today, Caryl.
and
We
thank you for
really
having me.
appreciate it. And the things
So
that
nice
you've
meeting
said, I know are going to be really important.
Thank
and I
you.
hope people will see the film Mortal and go to
Absolutely.
the site Mortal.
And thank you for having the courage to be so public with everything that was going on, and to give your daughter the green light and say, okay, it's okay, we can go for it with Mortal, we can put it out there, because it's a message that you're a lifeline for a lot of people out there. It's a message that people need to hear.
And thank you so much again for being on the show. And thanks everybody for watching the show. And Heidi and I hope you'll visit us at opentohope.com. And we also want to remind you that if you've lost hope, please lean on ours until you find your own, and God bless.